broadhead stuck him right in the side of the head. And I never will forget watching him run off with that arrow sticking straight out of the side of his head.
I saw antlers. Was one of those, oh my God, that's a huge deer.
There'd be tools lying around, and my wife would be walking around piles of sawdust.
I couldn't shoot because I couldn't shoot through that massive shoulder. This is a 10.5 foot, 1,500 pound brown bear.
Get recalibrated, be immersed in nature.
I went and cut a persimmon tree, and I made my first probably 24 bows out of persimmon.
That's how we dominated our fights, because we never got off the horse. We just kept shooting and battling.
As men, we have something in our DNA that seeks adventure.
I like nothing more than teaching this to other people, bringing people in from all walks of life and showing them this ancient art of bow making.
I've been bit by alligators and charged by bears, and I've been involved in plane crashes and boat flips.
I fell hard on my ass, and yeah, I chuckled about it. That really sucked. It was also a wake-up call.
My mother looked at me, she said, "Where'd you get that bow and arrows?" And I said, "I swapped my bicycle for it."
You don't go to Alaska because it's going to be super easy. You don't pick up a traditional bow because it's going to be easy. You do it for the challenge and the journey of overcoming difficult things.
He started forward, and as that leg came forward, I drew and released, and the bear was so big that the entire 30-inch arrow vanished inside his chest.
Welcome to the Bowyer Podcast, where we explore the ancient art of bow making, traditional archery, and the age-old pursuit of wild game. Together, we'll chat with masters of their craft to uncover the deeper why behind reviving the old ways in a modern world.
I just wanted to say that so far, all the times that I hunted, even the ones that I didn't shoot an animal, I had an amazing time.
Do you hear that sound? That beautiful melody is over a dozen well-trained hounds running through the mountains in Arizona as they chase a big old bear up a tree. In October of 2026, I'm going to be once again joining my friends at P&D Hunts to chase bears with my stick bow and a pack of dogs. If this sounds like an adventure to you, go ahead and email me at thebowyercollective@gmail.com, and I'll happily share the details to include pricing and logistics. P&D Hunts has offered to knock off over $1,200 off the outfitting fee for up to 5 hunters who'd like to join us. What I really like to do is set up an annual Bowyer Podcast hunt camp where we chase critters, eat well, and share stories around the campfire. If this sounds like a fun time, go ahead and hit me up, and we'll get you on the list.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the Bowyer Podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Morris. Thanks to everyone that is listening in. So we record this on Super Bowl Sunday, and I think most folks know that I'm a terrible sports fan, but my wife and kids are in the next room watching the Olympics, and I don't even know if we'll be putting the big game on later or not, but I had a good day today. Actually, I went out to the woods to a local wildlife management area here in eastern North Carolina and took one of my longbows out, and we went chasing yard grizzlies for a little bit, some bushy tails with my dog, who isn't really a squirrel dog, but she was happy to run around, and doggone it, but like not a single squirrel was seen within 100 yards. So we just hiked with bows, did some stump shooting, and honestly, it was just really good to try to knock off some of the rust, because I tell folks, like, hey, let's make sure we're still shooting near daily if we can and all that stuff. But whether the weather doesn't permit, or we're just tired, or the days are shorter, it gets darker early, it's sometimes hard to squeeze that time in. But I tell you, if you can just go for a little walk with your bow for 30, 60 minutes, something like that, and do some stump shooting, shoot at some pine cones, it's an easy way to knock that rust off. So I encourage you folks to do that. We've talked about this before. We've got a website. We've got a website called the Bowyer Collective. So show us some love on there. We've got sweatshirts and hoodies and hats and T-shirts and all sorts of good stuff on there that you guys can show your love for the Bowyer Podcast that way. Also, for anybody that's been following us on social media at the Bowyer Collective, we're doing a raffle for a good buddy of mine, Stephen Bieber, Stephen teaches at an alternative school for kids, like an outdoor survival-y type of school. And he's also a part-time bowyer. And he was on here, I don't know, probably over a year ago. And we talked about the uniqueness of Stephen's bows, where he makes these recurve and reflex deflex bows out of Osage, and they are fast as hell. A lot of them are shooting buck 80, buck 90 feet per second. That being said, we're doing a raffle for one of Steven's bows because Steven's wife has had some medical issues, and it's caused a bit of financial hardship because this is all very emergent, but very relevant, very needed for her and for her well-being. So we're doing this raffle. You go on to the Bowyer Collective and go to the store, you'll see these raffle tickets. They're $25 a piece, but that raffle, if you win it, you'll get a bow. Foster Kane of Foster's Custom Arrows is donating 6 wooden arrows and to match the tune of the bow there. I've actually got an old Walker Creek strap-on quiver that I've got here at the house. I'm going to toss that in. We'll toss in a couple Bowyer Podcast or Bowyer Collective hoodies. And the great folks at Trad Hunter Magazine are also contributing 1-year subscription to the magazine. And my buddy Justin Wells over at H&S Knives is going to throw in one of his handmade skinning knives. Actually, literally, what an amateur hour. My phone's ringing, but it's actually Justin Wells from H&S Knives. So sorry about that. But he's throwing in a knife for that. So it's a really great package. And again, a $25 raffle to get you something that's pretty cool. And all the proceeds will go directly to the Bieber family. So check it out on the Bowyer Collective. Get a raffle ticket while you're there. Hook yourself up with a t-shirt and show the world some love there. This episode is brought to you by Vooney Gear. You guys know I've had Brian Cook on and talk about Vooney Gear often, but I was walking around in my Vooney Gear multitude pants today and pretty much had those things for, I think, 2 years now, and they're still going strong. Give Vooney Gear some love. Use discount code Bowyer15 and it'll save you 15%. And also let the Vooney guys know that I'm doing my job on this end. All right. So I got a good pal here today that is on this episode, and I've had him on before, and I think we'll probably see a lot more of Mr. Jim Neaves from Centaur Archery. If you look back to episode 56, titled 30 Years of Building Bows or Bow Building, you'll be able to listen to the 101 of Jim, where he talks about his background, his upbringing, and Jim's only a couple years older than me, and the fact that he's been building bows for over 30 years shows you how young he was. He's a young man when he first started his journey and dove headfirst into it, and he's certainly a master of his craft. And we're going to talk about what's going on in Jim's neck of the woods out in the Bitter Roots of Montana. We'll dive deep into Centaur Archery, and we didn't really get into the various types of bows that Jim makes and a lot of his proprietary designs. Mr. Jim, how are you, buddy?
Hey, man. Thanks for having me. It's good to be back here with you.
Yeah, man. I'm excited. We've been chatting on the phone a little bit lately, and it was good. We cover enough stuff that's probably interesting enough. We might as well put a microphone in front of our faces. But Jim, so we're doing video now. So last time they were audio only in these podcasts, but now they have video. So everybody gets to see your handsome face. They usually just black mine out, like the black line goes over my face because nobody wants to see it. But for the folks that are driving in their car or something, I want to get some imagery because you've got a decent shot background here too, right? You got a young bull elk Euro mount. You got a pretty chocolate color phase bear. You got a beautiful bow. What's in the far left? That far left-hand corner there. Oh yeah, so you got some.
This is just my office, so it's a little crowded. But we've got some whitetails around that.
Yeah, critters. Yeah, pretty ones.
Lots of bows hanging off of racks and stuff. It's fun. We got some
nice
different things going on, but it's the old office, cool. Jam-packed full of a little bit of everything.
Yeah, man, I think it's awesome. It's real pretty. I got at least 2 bear hides in a freezer right now that I still have to take to the taxidermist, and then hopefully get those up on here, provide a little bit more scenery. But man, so we talked about this in the first one, Jim, but you are out in Hamilton, Montana area, right?
Correct.
And that area is like special to me, which was just like a small world where I was like, oh man, that's where I used to go hunting quite a bit. I went there a few years, basically every other year, but a few times out there chasing elk and bears. And I love the Bitterroot Valley out there in Hamilton and Darby and that whole area. And it was funny because like I mentioned, I was like, hey, is that one bakery out there? Was it the Red Rooster or something like that?
Yeah, Red Rooster.
And because I would go out there with my father-in-law, who was actually on a podcast a few weeks back, because we went out to the other side of Montana and chased cow elk with rifles recently. And but he was like, oh man, he goes, I just wish we could go out to Hamilton real quick. I wish it was an easy drive so we go to the Red Rooster. But anyways, the Red Rooster should sponsor us at this point because they've gotten some free marketing over the course of a few episodes. Particularly their cheese dishes. But man, I guess like we had a little Gym 101, but it's been a good year or so since we had you on. And we talked about we being a Montana native. We also talked about the fact that you really are like, and I didn't know that. I feel like I think of Michigan as being this really big traditional archery kind of central node. But through you talking to me, there are a lot of amazing bowyers that have come historically and currently out of Montana as well. And you've got like this, within a couple hours drive in any direction, you've got some pretty well-known guys out there in your neck of the woods that you've been able to befriend and have in your younger years have mentorship from. And I told my wife, I said, I just need to get on a plane out there and we just need to go have a big bonfire and have a couple bottles of bourbon and tell bow stories.
Yeah, there's a lot of people around here, and even well-known people that aren't bow makers that would love to join in something like that. It's the Bitterroot Valley and a lot of Montana just seems to be like a mecca for bow builders. It's, gosh, looking back, some of these companies have sold and whatnot, but you think about like Selway Archery that was based in Montana, the Bitterroot Valley here. You've got Montana Bow Works, Red Chavez, he was building a lot of Bitterroot bows, is the name of his. Howard Hill Archery, Thunderhorn, Neil Jacobson of Bear's Paws Bows, Dan Tolke, Dale Dye, who just recently passed away a few years ago. John Schultz was out here. Now, he was retired, but he was living here in the valley. It just quite an extensive list of and archers and stuff here in Montana. So it's been able to bounce a lot of ideas and questions and stuff off of people, being that technically I'm one of the younger ones, even though I'm just about to turn 50. So it's crazy.
Yeah, I think that's super cool. Meanwhile, I can't even find a traditional archery shop within an hour drive of me. I think that's really neat, man. But Jim, so one of the things I would really like to dive into is to give its due diligence is to talk about Centaur Archery on this episode, because a lot of the premise of this podcast initially was to tell the stories of the makers. We touch on their product and everything else, but it's really like the humans behind that. And everything we did that with the first episode. But what year, I know you've been building bows since you were like 19 or something, right? Or younger.
Right. Yeah, I started at 5.
Yeah. So when did the actual business of Centaur Archery start?
I pretty much went full time right around 2000.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's been going for 26 years solid, but I've been building bows for 30. So I don't know. I love it. I guess it's just what I'm meant to do, or at least it feels like that.
Yeah, I know the passion is there. I think I mentioned this is probably before we started hitting record, but you being so far west, when I go to any archery shows and things of that nature, it's usually like an ETAR or something that's out east, and we don't get a lot of Western bowyers. Maybe South Cox might come out or something like that, but generally a lot of folks are not from out west. So getting my hands on a Centaur to even try out and look at had been difficult. And then Trevor Thompson, who's a pal on Instagram, and we share a lot of the same friends in the circle, I know that he was shooting a couple. I think he's got a super curve and one of your longbow versions, and they're shooting like 190 feet per second, like really fast, that 70-pound super curve that he has. And he shoots a heavy arrow. And I was like, man, awesome. And at ETAR last year, I recognized one of your bows on the wall behind Drew Kohlhofer of Selway. And because Drew was putting on a quiver on my bear takedown, I was like, Drew, is that a Centaur? He goes, yeah, man. I've had this bow for 15 years and I love it. And that's the bow he brought out to do all these shoots. And I was like, can I go shoot it? And Drew's great. Gave it to me. I went out and shot it. And I was like, man, this is like a super smooth bow. And I think it was right around the time that I either had you on or we had talked about having you on, or maybe it was right after. But anyways, around that time frame, And I knew that like I was going to start saving up, have to put down a deposit on a Centaur bow, which I know now, yeah, when the next couple months, I'm going to get my hands on my own, and I'm really excited about it. And we'll talk about that too. But looking at the bow that like Drew has, and then looking at the photos that you post on, say, Facebook nowadays with all of your proprietary carbon fiber tips and the way your risers are set up and everything else, there's been natural evolution over the last 30 years or so of bow building, or the last 25 years of Centaur. Can you talk about the progression of what those models were when you first started and what they were constructed with, and then how that's evolved to what your main things are now?
Yeah, I mean, from the scratch of it all, I was doing basically just fiberglass in the limbs and typical the exotic hardwoods and stuff like that. And a lot of that stuff is still available, but just as time went, being a short draw archer, 25-inch draw length, I was always thinking, man, how can I get more performance through design and materials for guys that are my size and stature? But then obviously guys with longer draw lengths are going to benefit from that. They're just going to work the limbs even more, and so on and so forth. But as far as like the actual design itself, not a ton has changed, although I'm trying to think back if I think Drew probably has, because I was doing the bows for Gordy off of my bow press years ago when he owned Selway Archery before he sold it to Drew and Andy. And it was initially had a longer riser. It was almost 18 inches from fade out to fade out. And then we brought that down. We're like, how can we get a little more performance as far as draw length and all that without picking up any hand shock really? And I shortened up the riser. I did some things. We went from calling it at the time through Selway, the Selway little shooter, to the Selway little Magnum. And I believe that's what Drew ended up with, was that improved design with a little bit more working limb and a slightly shorter riser, so you could get a few more inches of draw length out of the same length bow. A 60-inch bow now draws smooth to 31, where it used to only draw smooth to maybe 29. I did some tweak and modifications there, and it's just been little things over the years. The design predominantly has been very similar over the years, and because it's amazing, Matthew, you can take the exact same materials, same length of material, same thickness and everything, and you can put one in more of a straight limb longbow design and literally pick up a bunch of hand shock and lose 25 feet a second. So while materials do play somewhat of a role in it, it's 90% predominantly design. So that being said, having an already pretty decent design, that's in 07, that's when I started playing with the carbon and trying different carbon fiber layups and learning all about carbon. It was there's a big force curve there, learning how it functions, what it will, what it won't do, how not to use it, a lot of things like that. And it's a lot of trial and error with the layups, needing certain torsional stability in some aspects of it, needing more longitudinal stiffness in others. So all that, it's been an ongoing experience. I've got things fairly refined now to where I'm kind of like, and of course, that's when I came out with the super curve. I'm like, okay, I understand carbon fiber, how to utilize it in a bow limb, how to make it work, how to have it to where it's never an issue. And so I was able to go move forward on that narrow super curve design and have a super torsionally stable limb. And then there's other things that I've revamped my taper boards to build in what I call an integrated power wedge, which extends about 2 inches beyond the fade outs of my limbs to stiffen up that region right there. Over the years, I just looking at my bows and with just the experience and the old adage, time will tell, looking at things, I'm like, I need to make my fade outs a little bit stiffer through that region. And so I've done little things over the years to just, again, the longbow design's been the same for 15 years, but just little tweaks and modifications to refine things and make them better. I've always been open to that concept, because to just think that you have it all figured out all the time basically puts you in a position where you become less humble and unteachable. And all humans are teachable, or should be, or should at least feel that way, because without that, how can you make improvements? You got to have that mentality of, hey, I can still learn here. I can still be taught things and recognize things and understand that while I am pretty efficient at what I do and I've been doing it a long time, I'm still capable of learning new stuff.
I think this is it's great that you basically came with some specific designs early on that you achieved really great efficiency and a great design, but you're continue to finesse those or evolve those over time as needed. But the last part I really love is to be teachable. Like, humans are teachable, but not everybody is, right? They are adverse to that. I think there's like a lot of good coaches, whether it's weightlifting or sports or lifestyle coaches or spiritual leaders. A lot of these folks often say, be coachable. And you look at the physicians, right? Most physicians are like the worst patients, from what I'm told. And I'm sure I've heard a lot of coaches say, yeah, coaching other coaches sometimes is a huge pain in the butt. But if they come into it to be coachable, right, like, it's a good wake up, because it makes them better coaches, but also makes them better athletes. It makes them better instructors. And we should all be curious and not have so much hubris that we just think we have all the answers. Even if we've achieved quote unquote mastery at a certain craft, there's always a way to sharpen that steel sharpens steel.
Yeah, absolutely.
And without that open-minded mindset or framework, it's easy to get pigeonholed in a specific box, but it's also easy to almost isolate yourself from other folks or ways of thinking. And this isn't just a bow application; it's general ways of thought. Right? Have that open-mindedness of long-standing curiosity and being coachable. If that makes sense.
Absolutely. I guess that's what led me into the carbon. Is so many people for years maybe had insecurities about using carbon fiber in limbs, or preconceived ideas like it's brittle or it's different things. And I thought, man, I don't want to have my head stuck in a space where I'm not willing to seek some ideas out, try them myself, and learn for myself, because a lot of times people will say this or that can't be done, but they're wrong.
Yeah.
And so to test that and I've always loved science, and so practical application of it, and to just venture out a little bit, get out of that safe zone. We know fiberglass is safe. We know certain designs are safe and everything, but I didn't want a bow that performed like everybody else's. I was told in the past, oh, don't put that much reflex in your limbs. I'm like, why wouldn't I? So there's certain things that, I'm a little hard-headed, so sometimes I have to find out for myself. And in this case, it's actually helped to perpetuate the design to some newer levels and give people a little bit of an edge. I talked to a lot of people over the years that have degradation in their shoulders or elbows or different things, and they really would like to stay in traditional archery and still be able to hunt and use a trad bow. And so one of my ideas in the back of my head is, how can I keep these people in the sport for as long as I possibly can, at least pursuing ideas and design and efficiency factors that will help them do that and still feel like they're making an ethical decision when they go out and hunt, and not feeling they're just barely getting away with the proper poundage to do it. Yes, they're going to drop down in pounds to facilitate some of these issues that they may have in pulling the heavier poundage, but how can I make my bows that much efficient to where they still feel confident what they're doing? And so that's also been a factor, along with my short draw length. That's another thing. It's like, how can I get this performance with these different dynamics to still have people feel like they got an edge using my equipment?
Yeah, people can't see this from the video, but you're only about 4'10" in real life.
Yeah, so that's on a good day.
But you're jacked, so you compensate for it. No, what do you have? Like a 24, 25-inch draw?
25, yeah. I'm 5'4", so that's about it. That's maximum. But I anchor at the corner of my mouth. I could get more if I drew differently, but I don't. That is what it is. And so I've always tried to look at what dynamic could I do, and that's the super curve. I haven't been able to put that down, and I've done really well with my longbows, and not at heavy poundages, low 50s type stuff. Excuse me. Now my super curve is only 49 pounds at 25 inches, and man, I just couldn't be happier with that little design. Both those elk I shot in 2025, the cow was at 28 yards and the bull was at 32, which is a little beyond the scope of where I practice, but I felt real confident in the equipment, even shooting big 1 3/4 broadheads and not pulling a lot of poundage, having a short draw length. I'm still shooting about a 560 grain arrow at about 170. Out to 25 yards, it's pretty flat. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
And I've done really well with my equipment, and there's no reservation even with the larger animals like that, and at the little bit longer traditional archery ranges, or at least what I consider to be longer, 25 to 30 yards, I still have no reservation taking shots like that. And I video all my hunts. That'll be out probably in the near future. As you and I talked about, we might be able to put something out there for people to see what's going on there. But yeah, I guess the idea is to keep that efficiency rating real high on the bows, where people can, again, I always tell customers, I'm like, man, you don't have to kill yourself with poundage shooting these. You can get something that's comfortable, it's cold, you can hold it back, you're not fighting the bow. Because if you're fighting the bow, you're
something that's just dadgum fun to shoot too. It's no fun to shoot a rifle
for a long time.
It's no fun to shoot 50 or 60 rounds out of a rifle that has a high recoil that's kicking your butt, right? And it's not fun to shoot 50 or 60 arrows out of a bow that's 10 pounds heavier than what it should be.
Having the idea that I can put something in somebody's hands that they can go and enjoy themselves at a 3D shoot, or just out roving around and doing a lot of plinking, but still feel confident in the tree stand or ground blind or however they hunt, that this is something that'll get the job done very efficiently and effectively. So
it's awesome. I love it. You've got proof in the pudding and proof in the speed, man. So I think whatever you're doing, it works. So you've got 4 models and you're about to come out with a 5th. So like the glass model, that's a glass longbow style traditionally? Correct. Or
yeah, in the longbows, I've got the glass model, which is fiberglass back and belly, and then the Chimera, which is a carbon back and a glass belly, and then the Carbon Elite, which you see the woven matrix carbon on both surfaces of the limbs. And then this kind of just organically became the 4th model of carbon. It's the Carbon Elite, but then when you add my extreme torsional, that XTL lamination, which can be added to any of the longbow models, but when you add it to the Carbon Elite, that becomes the 3rd layer of carbon. So it's just been coined the triple carbon. So essentially 3 models, but yeah, the Carbon Elite becomes a triple when you add that 3rd layer.
And then you've got the super curve.
Yes, the super curve, and that's its own. Those limbs do not vary whatsoever. Those are engineered from back to belly. They're all identical. The proprietary carbon fiber on the outside, 1 layer of action bamboo, and a layer of rock maple on the compression side for high shear strength. So those are all the same on the super curves.
Do you have any super curves in the shop with you there?
Yeah, I've got a couple.
Do you want to hold one up for the camera? Because it is a steep curve that you've got on there. It's unlike anybody else's I see. And yeah, so you can see on the outer limbs, it's probably considered almost a radical curve compared to what we see a lot of.
See the
it does. Our first episode, you talked about it looking kind of like a manta ray. It really does. It's got that shape of a ray.
And actually, yeah, that's somewhat. And then what's interesting about that is, I think when I was referring to the manta ray look was when my longbow was unstrung. It has almost looks like a manta ray that's got its wingtips up and it's ready to thrust down. And that's a concept that I went with my reflex and how I designed it. I guess maybe I just likened it to that once it was done. It just reminded me, because it's like when I stipple and stuff. A lot of times I'll stipple a grip for people. They'll send me something and they'll just be like, hey, man, I'm just turning you loose. You do your thing. And what's interesting about it is I look at the riser, I'm like, okay. And I just start doing stuff on it, not even like conscientiously thinking about it. But then when I'm done, I'm a rogue. I'm people send me like these blacktails and Bob Lees and widows and all these different things to stipple and high-end risers and stuff. And people, man, I'd be afraid to just lay into that. But I do. That's exactly what I do. I just lay into it and I don't even think about it. And then when I'm done, I look back and I'm like, oh, I don't know why I did that, but now I do, because I see like down towards the base of the riser, there's a certain sweep or curve. And I realized I did that when I was stippling, not like conscientiously, but because my eyes were picking up on certain sweeps and dips and different contours of the riser that just subconsciously I was reading into while I was stippling. And then again, not conscientiously, but or consciously, and I turn and look, I'm like, oh, yeah, that flows. That's why I did that. But it wasn't pre-planned. And so a lot of times these things happen to me, and then I look back and I'm like, oh, That's interesting. I don't know how I picked up on that, but evidently I did because it's in the stipple job. So I'm feral when it comes to that kind of stuff. I don't know. But I've been doing this for so long that I'm not worried about messing stuff up. I just go rogue on stuff, man, and just start making it happen.
That's cool, man. I
It's
think
probably a little bit of a gamble.
Yeah, it's like a true artist, though, right? You're letting a lot of the processes happen from an artistic standpoint organically, and then from the design standpoint, right? That's where your test R&D, have a new concept, test it out, bring it to what's called a minimally viable product, right? And then you're able to release it and all that stuff. And it's that takes a little bit more time. But when you've got 30 years of experience, that process now is expedited.
Well, yeah, it was funny because when I was down in Florida in June visiting Mark and Allison, and Mark had this Osage stave that was less than favorable. He's like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. I'm like, give that one to me. We needed to put the heat gun to it. It was all crooked and the tips were way over to one side. We did some heat treatment on that and stuff, but it was funny because Mark was building one at the same time. We started flowing on a few self bows together, and it was just fun. I had a few days downtime. I'm like, yeah, let's make some bows. So anyways, it's time to start bringing that. We've chased the growth ring. We've done some things, profiled the limbs a little bit, and he's working on his, I'm working on mine. And he's over there with a little, what do you call it? Just a little scribe or whatever with the sharp deal and then the pencil on the other side. I'm like, what are you doing? He's, I really like to map it out on the belly so I know like how far to draw knife it down to. I'm like, really? He's, yeah, man, how do you do it? And I go, like this, and I just took the draw knife and I start doing it and everything. You don't map it out? I'm like, no, I never have. I go, and then he would put it on a tiller board and stuff. And I showed him, I go, I'm a little more feral when it comes to this, but I was draw knife it and stuff. And then I'd take that bow and I'd put it on the ground and I'd flex it and just bend it like that. Oh, okay, that looks good. And sight down it. And he goes, dude, that's how Ryan Gill does it. I don't know how you guys do that. I'm like, I don't know. I said, you just take your time. You can take too much material off if you're not careful. Sure. But you just kind of regulate it and do that. And then I don't know if Mark still maps his out or not now. He was like, you suck, man. And he's like, I can't believe it. I strung it up in the tiller. It was pretty good. He goes, I can't believe this. He goes, Jim Neaves, he's getting pissed at me.
I definitely forever, but I rely on the tiller tree a lot. I'm not confident in my eye, like just floor tillering them, because once I start getting a good bend on each side, I'm like, all right, I'm putting the long string on and putting on the tiller tree.
Yeah, and actually that's really a great idea throughout the process. I never actually had a tiller tree. I just did it that way and did a lot of flexing and stuff and feel it, flip it over. Okay, these feel super similar. And then get to the point where I'd first brace it at a pretty low brace height and look at it and everything. But there's different ways, and there's no right or wrong way. I guess what I'm getting at is I've never been like super systematic in the way. Now there's certain things in the process of building these laminate bows that I am, because it's such a uniform limb, a uniform everything. I mic everything down to the thousandths of an inch and that kind of thing. So it's definitely a very controlled process, and grinding laminations to certain thousandths per inch and tapers and all this stuff.
Yeah, but that's everything. That stuff is so fine tuned. But I think there's guys that can do that, like what you do. Clay Hayes does this. Corey Hawk can do it. These guys that will you could probably just be given a machete or a hatchet and come out with a pretty good bush bow. And I have aspirations to do that. I also I don't know. I think it's also a good way for me to mess up a good stave, which I'll try it, make a juniper or eastern red cedar or a hickory sapling out here, so I don't mess up a nice stave out in the woods. But I don't have that like confident eye of a floor tiller. I wish I did. It saved me a lot of trips. I'm silly. Like my shop is downstairs, but my tiller tree is up here in this office. So like when I'm shaving off the card scraper, then I come back up and I just need to put a tiller tree downstairs. Yeah. But yeah, man, I didn't even know that until the first episode that you did self bows too, because I just wasn't aware. And then you had posted several of your old, like 20-year-old, 15-year-old self bows on Facebook, I think. And I was like, golly, these were just, you're like a prodigy. Like those self bows are really special too.
Yeah. That's how I got into bow making originally, in the Bowyer's Bibles books and talking to people and looking at different self bows that friends and mentors had made, and just a culmination of all this information. And then I got the draw knives and started doing it myself. And I always really enjoyed that. There's something really satisfying about just literally taking a stick of wood and making a highly functional tool out of. And that's something. And I've got some really nice pieces of water buffalo horn, some nice lengthy, slight curved, already flattened and everything. Eventually I want to make some really nice horn bows, sea style horn bows and whatnot. I've never been able to afford the time with the family and everything that's been going on. It's been more about just doing what I know I can do and provide at this point. It's been a full-time gig for me. A lot of people, not everybody's doing it full time. I know a lot of people have worked over the years and done things, and now they retired or they got a pension and they're building bows, and they're not maybe necessarily relying on the funds from.
Sure. Yeah, I think there's a lot of guys. Yeah, it's their side hustle or their retirement kind of job, and not their career forever.
Yeah.
Which means, so it's even, I can't remember who I was talking to, might have been Corey or somebody. He was like, look, if I'm out in the woods hunting, that means I'm not building bows, which means I'm not making money. If I'm doing this on family vacation, I'm very deliberate, like a year in advance, like when my block of hunting is, when our family vacation is, when this time is happening. And I think it's just being very disciplined in that and bringing that to fruition. But I'm glad, man, you got some good hunting in this year. You got a cow and a bull, right?
Yeah, the cow was the tail end of the 2024 season, which bled over into January of 2025.
Okay.
Yeah, January 5th. And then the bull, I'd only sat in a tree stand, 2 other times. I only sat a total of, I went out 4 times in 2026. Or 2025. I did not get out at all, but I literally had animals underneath me every single time I sat. And my son Noah came with me on the first hunt, and we had deer come by and everything, and we knew there was elk in the area, and it was early season, September, and so we just kind of watched them. And second time I sat, I had a small buck and some does walk around underneath me, and the third time I sat, that's when I shot that bull, September 14th, and that was awesome. I mean, that really videoed the whole thing. It was just a perfect scenario. And then I sat one more time on my birthday, and I'm smack dab in the middle of the rut, and I had a little 8-point come by, and he was just a little guy. He was ignorant, and he was fun to watch, and counted coup on him and let him walk and videoed him. I video all my hunts. It just gives me something to do. But yeah, I mean, it was, literally could have harvested animals on every single hunt that I went on, but I fired one arrow and got one animal. And it was a big one. So I was very happy with it, full freezer. So
yeah, man, that's amazing. And I also I never think of, in my mind, I don't marry tree stand and elk hunting. So the fact that, especially during the rut, the fact that, you do a lot of your elk hunting from a tree stand, also just
it's one of those areas where it's just, it's down in the river bottom here, western Montana, and it's just one of those spots where a multitude of things could walk by, from turkeys to bear to whitetail to elk to moose to mule deer. There's not a lot of mule deer in that area, but I have seen them down there. And mountain lion, it's my whitetail spot, but now I've literally taken 5 elk out of that river bottom. So I look at it differently now. I have the one tree stand that I hunt a lot. It's literally named it the elk stand, because I've taken 3 elk out of that stand. So it's been a good spot.
I can't remember, but the whitetail tags out there, they're different, right? So you got isn't it a river bottom whitetail tag? And then the other one is for getting up in the range, the mountain range?
There's your general deer tag, and that's good for a buck or a doe in multiple areas. Okay. And then you can put in for an extra buck tag. And I haven't done that for so long because it's so rare that I see anything that I want to shoot in the first place. I just never really apply for that one. But I think that is for a couple different areas. That might be the river bottom. They would call it the Clark Fork River District or whatever. Yeah. And then you get 5 or 6 B tags, which are good for does or spikes under 4 inches. And that's in a lot of the different Area 200s. And then like after the general season closes, then I think you can still use the doe tags up in the hills. Anyways, I pretty much just hunt down the river bottom, but yeah, there's a lot of variety there for sure with the tags. And that's why I hardly ever shoot a buck anyways, just because I'm like, if I really want a deer, I'll shoot a doe. There's a lot of does around. They give you a lot of doe permits. And if I'm hunting for a buck, I usually try to hunt an older savvy buck that's hard to take. These little guys, they run around and I just watch them. Like I said, if I really want to shoot a deer, I'll just shoot a doe.
Yeah.
But
now Do you want to talk about this? If not, we can edit this out. You've got a new model coming out soon, right?
Yeah, it's exactly what I've been doing all along, but we're setting up a contract with a company that's basically going to source the bamboo, the fiberglass, the lamination, the riser handle, the laminate riser handle, and glue them up for me. Same bow design, identical, and glue them up for me and everything. And basically that's going to allow me to have a lot of what I'm calling factory or production line bow blanks at hand. And then it's literally my hand on that bow for the rest of the way. So it's just sourcing the materials and putting it into a bow blank form for me. So I've got a lot to pull from, and I can grab and finish out, do all the finish work on it, tiller, aligning, shaping the handle, shaping the tips, all these different things. But what it's going to do, it's going to save me a lot of time and money. So therefore I can put that back to the customer for literally like half the cost.
That's wonderful. Do you have a name for this model yet, or is that still in the
Not
works?
really. It's all this stuff is like in the infantile processes right now. It's just, we literally just talked about it. We don't even have an order in yet for all the bow blanks and all that. But I just always thought there's a lot of people out there, because my glass model, baseline glass model, starts at $900. And I thought, man, if I could do something that's almost identical to that. Now, these factory bows, they're not going to have the finger grooves. They're not going to have a thumb rest. They're going to be just super plain Jane, but it's a Centaur through and through. The materials, the design, everything else is just, it's exactly what I'd be making with just less features. All the material is going to be bamboo limbs, black fiberglass, nice tip overlays on the handle, all that, but just less in depth when it comes to customization process. So it's going to be a little bit more of a one size fits all, but they're going to range somewhere $500, $550 right in that area. You can still have, 1 year warranty on them. They're going to come with the bow sock, the string, the Navajo string silencers, basically just a step down from my regular stock bows that will have finger grooves and will have carbon. And these factory bows will have no carbon in them whatsoever. They're just all glass and wood, but they're going to be great. It's going to be something that people can get into that maybe didn't want to spend the money or didn't have the money to get into a Centaur, but now they can. And at a pretty affordable price.
I think it's a super affordable price. And look, again, like a base model glass bow starts at $900. Yeah, but some of your bows with you make custom bows, and some of those can get closer to the $2,000 range. And a lot of people see that as daunting, especially if it's their first bow or they've only gotten hand-me-downs or garage sales or flea market bows. Now they can get a bow that's Centaur through and through that, as you mentioned, that is going to give them exceptional performance, a nice sleek design at a very affordable price point. And one that might be the bow they use forever and ever, or also that can be their first Centaur bow that they use for 3, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And then even after they save up, where they're like, okay, now I'm going to have Jim make me a custom bow that I've dreamed of for the last. I think it's a brilliant idea.
It's a product that's going to allow them to get a foot in the door and start shooting the bows and get used to the design and the performance. And if they want to go up from there, we can certainly do something more custom. But I think a lot of people that are maybe on the fence and don't want to pull the trigger on close to $1,000 bow, this would give them an opportunity to get into something and get the same performance as the glass model bows and all that, and be able to do it and justify it and kind of get their feet wet, so to speak.
Wonderful. And is this going to come in? What's the range of draw weight and draw lengths you're going to be able to include in those?
Pretty much all of the 40-pound range, maybe even the high 30s and low 50s. So just that spectrum of where I would say 95% of the bows I make are already being built. Yeah.
Man, do you have any of those on hand right now? In your shop?
I have one. Yeah.
I know our computer cameras aren't great, but this might be cool.
No, it's basically everything that it's going to be. This is just a prototype, but it's the limbs. It's got nice tip.
But you still do like nice finished limb tips and everything else too. So I didn't even know those were going to be on there.
And see, in particular, this isn't going to have the finger grooves, but it's got the nice overlays here. It's got bamboo. The limbs are action bamboo. The riser is going to be
really nice
dense,
bamboo overlays on the riser.
Yeah, this is going to be a nice, dense, heavy, either kind of a Dymolux product or a action wood. It's going to be dark. We're going with kind of a black or a real dark gray. When it's going to have the overlays on this side as well, just an accent and that. And then basically just bamboo limbs, black fiberglass on this side, and then just a nice kind of a laminate tip overlay here of the action wood, and then some white glass in there. And we may change these colors a little bit. That's part of the stages that we're in now, is just deciding some of the little various factors as to what colors is specifically to go with and stuff. But they're pretty much going to be all the same. And again, just a nice average size handle, nothing crazy, nothing big, but it will have that little thumb trough over here on this side. And as you can see, I mean, the shelf is just exactly what I do with my other bows. It's going to have this nice radius here, and so it's going to, my hand is on every single one of these. I'm doing all of the tillering and lining and working the tips down and feathering in the overlays and the writing on the bow and the spray. So I'm literally, my hands on all of these. And that's why I wanted to do it, because after working with this company and getting a prototype, I'm looking everything over. It's okay, I want to make sure that it's up to my standards, right? So I'm looking at the fade outs. It's beautifully done. The glue lines are really nice. They do a really nice job. All the glue lines are super tight. The overlays are laminated on very nicely. Everything is up to my specs. It's up to my quality. So it's got my seal of approval. And with that being said, that's why I'm going to do not a 2-year warranty, but a 1 year. And that's reflected in the price. If there's anything wrong, we'll completely replace the bow. I'll finish out another one for the customer, replace it. You're good to go. I'm just excited about it because it's going to save. The reason that we can offer the numbers like this is because when I get it, the stages in which the bow is in is already far enough along. I can finish it out quickly for people and have my finish, everything I use on the customs and everything done, ready to go, and be able to ship them out fairly quickly for people. Now, again, I'm just going to work these in when I can, because I still have all my custom orders that I'm going to maintain my keeping up to snuff with all that, making sure that I'm providing my customs in a timely fashion, like what we talked about when people get on the list. But this is going to be something that I might have 5 or 10 of these done, hanging up. They're all going to be 60-inch to start with. It's not an overly long bow, and it's not overly short. It's something with this design that'll accommodate most draw lengths, at least all the way up to 31 inches. So that's going to cover most people. Now, in the future, I may talk with the guys at the company and be like, hey, let's offer a couple different lengths or whatever. But for me to get a lot of them done and be able to do it, this is a nice length that is just very accommodative to most archers. And you can still, in a tree stand or ground blind, 60-inch isn't overly long. I know it might not be ideal for some people, but it's what we're going to start out offering and see how it's received.
That's how you got to make those decisions, right? You got to get some out the door, get that customer feedback that says, hey, it's too short, too long, whatever. And that's how you refine it, right? Like over time. Like right now you're going through all the normal protocol of a prototype until you get it out the door. And then you're going to get the next year of feedback before making any change or whatever. I think it's great. And Jim, what you're doing, what to me is more important for the whole entire community, is you're gonna offer the opportunity to get more bows in the hands of people that might not otherwise have been able to do that. And they're going to get they're going to get a sweet bow. It's really cool.
And like I said, there's going to be features that these bows don't have. They're not going to have the finger grooves because that's a deterrent if it's not made for the right person. They're wonderful if I've got a hand tracing and I've got measurements and all that. You can't beat them. But for just a off the rack and in your hand type bow, things like certain features that aren't going to be on these bows like the other bows, that's what makes these in the price range that they're going to be at. They're going to be pretty universal, but yet still a very comfortable handle. It's got some nice contours to it. It's dished out here. It's got the nice shelf on it. The finger side where your fingers come across, there's no grooves, but it's just comfortable. It just fits nice. And so for somebody just looking to get into a Centaur and have something that's shooting the same speed as the glass model bows and the same shape and the same draw cycle and all that, just minus a few of the real custom features, this is going to be a great. And like I said, I don't really have a name for it other than just a kind of a factory production model bow. And
you got to come up with a name at some point.
Yeah, probably. I name everything else, right?
Yeah. I think it's cool, man. I'm really excited about it. I think there are a lot of really expensive bows out there, and that's fine. I think they merit that. I think they warrant that. But I really like that there are a few providers out there that get more get more bows into people's hands. And I love that you being really like a 1.5 man show with Centaur, you've now put in the thought and reflection and now sweat equity to produce this too. And it's gonna, like, I'm excited to see a lot more Centaur bows floating around. And
yeah, I think you're right about that. There'll be just more bows flowing around that people can get an idea what they are, and at an affordable price. And it's going to be something that I'm just able to work in my schedule as in between coats on customs or in between glue ups or whatever. Again, I don't know how many I'm going to be able to produce because I'm already working a lot, but it's just an idea that with the money that's being saved with this process and being able to get a lot of them in bulk and keep the price down, I can pass that on to the customer, get them into something that they can enjoy and have all the benefits of shooting one of my bows, and just to see if it's easier for people to get into something around the $550 range and take a chance on that versus what I have to offer now. And oh man, I'm almost $1,000 in, and that's a big commitment, and I might not even the bow. So
yeah,
this is an opportunity to get basically the exact same performance and design and everything at almost half the cost. So I think it'll be productive for a lot of people.
I think it's great, man. I'm excited. More importantly for me, not for you. More importantly for me, I've got a super curve coming that I put a deposit on back in the early winter. And like a lot of years that are worth their salt, you're a good 6 months, 7 months in the queue for orders oftentimes. But man, I can't wait. I'm super excited. I was talking to my wife about it the other day, to her chagrin, but I was like, I got this new bow coming in. I was like, I'm gonna have to like go down to Florida and at least do like a pig hunt or something, so I don't have to wait till the fall or to get it done. At the very least,
to break that new bow in.
I know, right? Yeah, man. And I'm not easy on bows, and I'm just not. I'm not a delicate hunter. I probably should be more careful, but so I'm really excited to get it in and shoot it and tune some arrows to it and start flinging it at a couple of animals. I think it'll be a joy. It'd be really
I'm excited
cool.
to get this going for you, man. You've been waiting for it a bit, so
I've never got like a truly custom bow before, and this is the first time. So I feel it's a really cool process. It's kind of liberating, right? It's like the first time you purchase your own new vehicle or something. I don't know, maybe. So it's okay. We went through it. You got my hand measurements like you were talking about. I've never had to do anything like that before, and some color schemes and all these things. And I was like, look, I actually want a couple colors that are probably like not the typical thing. I want some of this. I want a little pop. I want a little edge to it. And these types of things. And because I want it to be me and my representation. And I just think it's really cool that you're accommodating of that. And also, I don't think there are
stuff, Matthew. It's what makes it yours. That's always neat. I get a lot of people calling with a lot of different ideas, and sometimes oh man, I don't know if I should put these colors together, but then I do, and I'm like, hey, that works. Not something I would have chosen, but hey, that's not a bad call right there. So it's fun. I get to watch the thing come to life as well on this end, and it's always intriguing to me. I enjoy that.
I'm excited. I was talking to a buddy, actually the guy I was out squirrel hunting with this morning, local buddy Clayton, and I was carrying around a Rhino Orion longbow from Ryan O'Sullivan. I think he's out of Pennsylvania, but I bought a short recurve, like a 54-inch recurve from him a couple years ago. It was the first lamb bow that I purchased, and it was a great bow. And I was really impressed that Ryan's bows could be pretty short tip to tip and still accommodate like a 28-inch draw length without finger shock and all that stuff. Then after ETAR last year, I was working with Tom Klum, who so generously contributed like a day and a half to me. But now my draw length's at like 30 inches now. And there's not a lot of people, in my mind, there are not a lot of bowyers that are making a nice shorter bow, let's say 56 to 58 inches. They can accommodate a really nice 28, 29, 30, 31 inch draw length. I think now, and not a lot of people know about Ryan's bows, but like this podcast is about him, but I've got one of his long bows. I know Cody DeQuisto, he's shorter like you. He's 5.5 foot. But I know that some guys have shot like Bushman's bows that are usually short tip that can accommodate supposedly. I have never shot a Bushman, but a longer draw length, and yourself.
Yeah.
Like the fact that I can get a bow that's not just like unwieldingly long and still accommodate a good 30-inch draw length. Because hunting out west, I think the length is okay. But man, like when I'm out here in the southeast, like in the swamp, I'm going through thick briars all the time. Sometimes I'm hunting on the ground, and like a 64, 66-inch bow can be a little unwieldy.
Yeah.
To carry around. And even I did a giveaway, the 66-inch hickory longbow, Tuscarora design that I made myself, that I loved. I did a giveaway through Patrick's Magazine. I've given that bow away, but I just made myself late last year, a Seneca, indigenous Seneca inspired self bow that's only 54 inches longbow Osage, but it's only got 24-inch draw. So it's like a little snap shooty thing, but it's 60 pounds, it's stout, and it's fast, and it's super fun.
Yeah.
But it's a self bow. The fact that I can now get a shorter tip to tip bow, I think we're looking at like 58 inches, something like that on that Super Crew. I can't remember what the specs are that we outlined, but because it was months ago, and being able to accommodate my long draw length without stacking, it's gonna be freaking sweet.
Well, I probably shouldn't tell you this, but I do have something else in the works right now. I say in the works, it's actually gonna be. I've been thinking about it for a long time, and I'm gonna make it happen here. I don't know exactly when, but this year I am going to come out with a longbow that's very similar to what I have now, but it's going to have 2 inches shorter riser on it. Maybe 2.5 inches shorter riser. So it's going to be a Centaur longbow. This is all in the custom line.
Yeah.
So right now, like my 56-inch longbow will draw smooth to 27. My new form 56-inch longbow will draw smooth to 29, maybe 29.5. So I'm going
that's a short ass longbow to be able to tip for accommodate.
So the idea, and I'm going to add a new shorter bow to the lineup. So what's going to happen is this new form is going to be dedicated to 56, 54, and 52-inch longbows.
Okay.
The 54 should draw smooth to at least 27 plus. And the 52, 25, maybe 26, depending. I don't know until it's done and I can put it on the scale and see exactly what it's pulling, how much it's gaining per inch of draw length. But yeah. So I'm going to shorten up the riser a little bit, give these shorter models more working limb, and be able to get them into the hands of people that were kind of like, oh man, I wish I could shoot a 56 at a 28-inch draw length. Well, now you can. You'll be able to.
That is,
yeah.
Maybe before hunting season. What do you think?
Yeah.
I'm not going to push you. I'm not going to hold you to it. The audience might. I can edit this stuff out though.
Yeah, put it this way. I've already got all the parts and pieces that I need to do it now. I just need to do it. Just got a lot on my plate right now in life, but there's good things to come, and I'm excited about it, especially for me too, as a short draw archer. Although, man, I can't really walk away from my Super Curve. I'm married to that thing. I'm telling you, I love it. But, and then another further down the line, my mindset's telling me that if I really like what I'm seeing with this new shorter riser longbow, I may do something similar with the Super Curve.
That's cool.
So I've just,
because the Super Curve, you can get as short as 56 right now, right?
Yeah, 56, 58, and 60 are the 3 links I make in the Super Curve. But if I were to do this, it would probably yield to like a 50, 52, 54-inch Super Curve, maybe. I don't know how short I want to go on that. The design can definitely do it. I just got to play around.
Also, are there enough shooters to justify that too? It's kind of like weighing that market and everything else too, I'm sure. But I'm excited about the shorter longbow. I think that's cool.
The 56-inch Super Curve draws smooth to 29 right now. And that's what I'd like my new longbow form to be able to do. So if I shorten the Super Curve, the 56 would be smooth to 31. The 54 would be smooth to 29. And like my 58-inch Super Curve, when it's strung, is like 53 3/4 inches long. So the super curves give you already a really tight little package that accommodates pretty long draw length. Like if I take my 56-inch longbow and I string it up, and my 58-inch super curve, and I stand them side to side, I could show you real quick. I mean, it's amazing how compact. Here's my longbow. Okay, we're gonna string that up. Here's the super curve. I don't know if you'll be able to see this or not, but I'm gonna tip on the concrete with both bows. So we are literally an 1.5 inches shorter with the 58-inch super curve than I am with my 56-inch longbow. So that just goes to show you got two more inches of working limb with the super curve in an 1.5 inches shorter package. So that being said, if I start doing these mods with the shorter risered super curve, shorter risered longbows, the super curve's you're always gonna get more working limb out of a super curve that's even longer than the longbow. It's just going to be a shorter package because of the radical curves. The shortest distance is a straight line from point A to point B. So you can have a lot more distance on a super curve because of that curvature, but still end up with a shorter overall bow length. And so,
it's strong.
But anyway, so all that being said, the super curve is definitely more maneuverable right now as far as equal lengths bows. But so I've got some ideas that have been floating around, and I don't come out with new ideas very often, but what happens is when I come out with a super curve, I shoot those bows, I build them for 4, 5, 6 years or whatever, get a really good feel for how things are working out, how things are holding up, how, and you look at things and you assess, and the old adage, time will tell. I reflect back and, okay, what would I change? What would I tweak? What would I do differently? Now that I've given it some time to see how everything pans out. Okay, during that time span that things are going on, along with those little tweaks and ideas, and I'm going, this would be really cool if I do this, because you've got this time to assess, you're building enough of them, you get the feedback from people, and that's, for me, when everything's going good, and I'm like, okay, now how can I make this better? And that's when the new ideas start to formulate, and I'm like, okay, I already know what I'm doing now is working, and it's working well. How can I improve it? And
it's true innovation, though. I think it's cool.
But you gotta, like vehicles. And a lot of times they come out with something. The next thing you know, the next year there's a recall. There's this and that, and so I keep my eyes open for that stuff. Hey, what would be, or what's going on in my bows that could be a potential recall? How can I modify or tweak that to make it to where that's never an issue? And so with all that stuff being done and solidified, I'm like, okay, now what's the next step? And I'm always doing that. And sometimes it takes 4 or 5 years in between ideas. But again, I guess it's enough time to really assess, to see the character of what you've put together and how it's holding up. And so you got to give things its due diligence, like the pharmaceutical companies, right? They come out with a drug. They got to see how many people it's killing.
We'll pour some bourbons and have that conversation.
Yeah. But anyway, so I've got some pretty cool ideas that have been mulling around in my head that I'm getting a little antsy. I'm going to have to probably do something about in the near future.
I love it, man. I'm pretty sure I think we'll probably do another recording here in the next 60 days or so, and talk about some of our spring hunting plans and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But man, I want to encourage people. Like I had the good fortune of shooting a 15-year-old bow that was Centaur from Drew, and it let me know that I needed one in my life. So many people I used to think, like, why do you need more bows? But then again, I was one of those guys that had plenty of rifles. I was like, I didn't need more rifles. And after shooting Drew's old bow, I was like, man, I really like this. And then talking to Trevor, and he's like, man, yeah, this is my bow. This is like the one that calls my soul, which is why I'm super excited. I'm super excited for the Super Curve. But I'm also just excited for what this year is going to bring you, Jim, because you're a great human, but you're a fantastic bowyer, and you've got a very limited social media presence and all this stuff. So there's not a lot of hype and show, but you know what? You've always got a queue for 6 or 8 months. People know the quality that they get when they come to you and the man that they're going to be working with. And I think that's what speaks very highly to you as a human and you as a bowyer and an artisan. And I'm excited to see what like the factory line bow or the production line bow is going to do too, as far as being able to allow you to, hopefully it's going to give you a little bit more time so you can spend more time in the woods and less time in the shop from time to time by getting some of those off.
I love that.
As your friend, I hope that it warrants you some more time. But as a guy watching from the cheap seats, is just seeing the business expand with some new innovation is really pretty cool to watch. I think from anybody that likes to watch or observe artists push the limits. And I think that's what you're doing. And I think a lot of us are going to enjoy watching that. If you just post on Instagram from time to time, we might actually be able to see it sometimes. Like I get it. I hate social media so much. But I posted a thing, and you don't know this because you're never on Instagram, but I posted a picture of one of your bows recently on Instagram because I took a screenshot from Facebook, and I was like, I've got Facebook for two reasons. One, for Facebook Marketplace, and the other is so I can see Centaur Archery bows when they come out. That's like the only thing that I ever have. My dad will be like, hey, did you see this thing I posted on Facebook? I'm like, no, I'm not. Who gets on Facebook still?
Yeah.
But Jim Neaves.
I'm a creature of habit, I think.
Jim Neaves and my dad get on Facebook.
Hey, thank you for the compliments, Matthew. And I also just would like to just give a shout out to all my customers. I don't do Christmas cards. I don't do a lot of stuff, and I don't play around on social media a lot, but I do want to say that I'm humble and thankful for all the years and being able to provide a service for people and make them happy. I enjoy doing what I do, and the only reason I'm able to do it is because I've got people out there that actually want the things that I produce, and that means a lot to me. So I just want to thank everybody for all the years of support and allowing me to do this, because it's a passion of mine, and my thankfulness in that is going to be me trying to continue to innovate and do things that make the bows better, that ultimately can put a smile on people's face and say, I'm glad I got this bow. It wasn't an impulse buy. It wasn't something that I regret, and that means a lot to me. Just being able to deal with all the kind people, and over the years, it's been a real blessing to my life.
Amen, man. As I said, you're as good as they come, and finding good people nowadays becomes more and more difficult. And I'm not trying to be cynical. I'm just speaking to how I feel sometimes. And I'm happy to know you. More importantly, I'm happy to know that you're like in my circle of friends. And man, I know
likewise.
I've talked to a lot of my guy friends. I say a lot, quit texting and just start picking up the phone. We're all real humans again. And you and I need to be better at that with each other too, man. Let's pick up the phone and call and talk to each other more often. I think it's always so gratifying to talk to you, whether we have a microphone in front of us or not, because you're one of my pals and I care about you and your well-being. And I know it's reciprocated, man. And I'm excited to be more proactive this year with each other, and hopefully share some pictures, some big critters and kids playing sports and all that good stuff.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Thank you for that, Matthew. Likewise, buddy. I think the world of you. I like what you're doing here, and man, I'd love to meet you someday and be able to shake your hand.
I know. I feel weird because I got a couple guys that are like Deacon Andrews, my buddy in Salt Lake City. We've never met in person, but who like call each other like every 10 days. We have like happy hours and all that sort of. I was like, this is weird, dude. Is it weird? Is it like online dating? I miss the online dating bubble, right? I was fortunate to meet my wife in my early 20s. I was like, is that what this is? What's going on? Like,
with technology and being able to do all this stuff, you can make friends all over the place. And I guess then the real thing would be to actually be able to meet up at some point and
yes, we do.
Solidify that relationship, make some memories.
Go fishing or hunting and just find a good excuse to drink a beer and fling some arrows.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, thank you. This has been great. I appreciate you, man. This means a lot.